Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
What's up, everybody? This is Jacob Warren asking you to like, subscribe, and share. Dave needs this.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app.
Download now for free.
Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
Well, we're excited. It is a big Wednesday when Jimmy Hyams joins us. We always look forward to that. Jimmy Hyams, as good as they come in the biz. So we're going to have a spring preview of Tennessee's wide receiver and running back position. Now, not everybody is going to compete in the spring, so we have to kind of take a look at that and who might have the biggest impact. Also, of course, some Tennessee basketball. Josh Heupel disrespected in some coaching rankings. And Tennessee's season-defining game, what will it be this season? Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
I am good, Dave. How are you?
I'm never better. Do want to take a quick shout-out. Eddie Courtney, the head coach at Farragut High School there in Knoxville, announced his retirement after, I think, about 59 years. It was a long time. So congratulations to him, but let's go ahead and get to the poll question. That is today. And what do we have up on the YouTube channel? We encourage people to place the vote now. And then I've got a big announcement about an upcoming prize that we have rolling. So what do we got on the poll question today?
Would you rather Tennessee basketball clinch the SEC tonight with the win at South Carolina and lose on Saturday, or leave tonight open, get a 50-50 chance either way, and guarantee a sweep of Kentucky with a win on Saturday?
Okay, I like both of them. I think it's got to be to win the SEC. We'll ask Jimmy Hyams that right now. So, Jimmy, first of all, how are you, sir? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining the program.
I'm doing great, guys. Hope you are as well.
Yep. Jimmy's presence on Wednesdays brought to you by Ray Varner Ford. I'll tell you more about them there momentarily. But our poll question that we just set up, would Tennessee rather beat Kentucky or South Carolina? The obvious one's to win the conference, right? And go ahead and take care of business. But what do you think fans will say? Because Kentucky has that emotional pull.
Yeah, I think so. If you beat South Carolina, you clinch the SEC championship. It would be Rick Barnes' first outright championship. And you also continue to put yourself in position to be a number one seed in the NCAA tournament, which the program has never done before. So that would be groundbreaking for Tennessee to do that. Would you want to sweep Kentucky? Absolutely. But if you can get the outright SEC championship, I would take that. I think beating South Carolina on the road, given where South Carolina is, and being the outright SEC champion would probably garner a little bit more respect from the NCAA selection committee for seeding.
Caleb, you have anything to add to that? I mean, the logical choice is to beat South Carolina and take care of business, but Kentucky's Kentucky, and some fans get really excited over beating Kentucky, and I understand why.
No, I get it. I am a believer of championships over everything. If I could take this to football for a second, the 2001 team beat Florida and Alabama. The 97 team did lose to Florida. The 97 team is remembered more fondly because they actually won the SEC championship, unlike the 2001 team, which could not win the SEC championship. And that made a huge difference.
Jimmy, I would agree with that. Would you?
Yeah, the championship supersedes it, yes.
Yep.
I do agree with that.
All right, let's get to today's tough questions brought to you by our good friends at Sports Treasures. If you want to join a Hooker's Corner, now is a good time to do it because our March prize is a Brew McCoy autographed helmet, which is pretty awesome. So go ahead and, Jimmy, you can become a John if you would like to and join Hooker's Corner. Would you like to do that?
Absolutely. I've always wanted to be a John.
Absolutely. Except in this case.
I don't know why I got the name Jimmy.
It's But the thing is, we pay you is the weird part. So we've got this whole Hooker John thing messed up.
Well, we're paying Jimmy to be a John.
We go. Today's tough question is right now.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Today's tough question brought to you by our friends at Sports Treasures, and that is as simple as this. We start with basketball. Is Dalton Knecht having the best season ever for a Tennessee men's basketball player? I believe yes. What say you, Jimmy Hyams, that's seen some more basketball than I have in my day?
No, I got to go back to Bernard King. I mean, Bernard King one season averaged over 26 points and over 12 rebounds. He is the best player that Tennessee's ever had, in my opinion. I would put Knecht very high on that list. The other one I would compare it to and is Tony White. Tony White averaged 24.5 points per game his senior year. Now, the reason I would probably yield to Knecht on that is that Tony White's team wasn't nearly as good as this Tennessee team. I don't think the SEC overall was as good then as it is right now. They may have 8 or 9 teams in the NCAA tournament. They may not have a lot of great teams, but they got a lot of really good teams in the SEC. So the level of competition, the fact this team is better, I would say Knecht probably the second best season with Tony White knocking on the door and Bernard King having the best ever.
Jimmy, may I offer this? I'm going to argue Knecht with the better season, not necessarily the better career, because I think some people forget that Bernard King was going to be one of the all-time greats before the injury. But he had Ernie Grunfeld, who won co-SEC Player of the Year the same year. I'm not saying that Knecht doesn't have anything, but when it comes to scoring and Tennessee truly has to score, he's pretty much the guy. That's the reason I would take this season. Again, I'm going before my time, Jimmy. I'm the first to admit it. I was like 6 years old at the time. But that's why I would go with Knecht over the fact that he didn't have an elite running mate like Ernie Grunfeld. You?
Yeah, I can see that point. And Knecht, he absolutely took over the Auburn game in the last 12 minutes. He outscored Auburn, what was it, 25-21 or something like that. When Auburn had an 8-point lead at that particular time. Phenomenal game for him. But the numbers still, to me, support King. And King did have a really good supporting cast. He not only had Ernie Grunfeld, they had another guy that could average 15 points a game named Mike Jackson. Now, that team also scored a lot of points. I think they might have scored more points per game than this Tennessee team might have. I'd have to double check that. And that was in an era where they didn't even have a shot clock. But, Guy, it's so hard for me to ignore what King did against elite competition. I remember the game up in Kentucky when Tennessee lost. It was Bernard King's freshman year. And somebody flicked a lit cigarette into his hair.
Oh.
And he was livid. And he said, I will never lose to Kentucky again. And he didn't. Tennessee won the next 5 games against Kentucky. And those were great Kentucky teams. But I just think Bernard King's the best ever. He's the best NBA player.
Jimmy and Dave, I want to get you guys, both of y'all's thoughts on this. And I agree, Jimmy, I was looking at Bernard King's numbers and I'm just blown away. And I know Ernie had a decent NBA career, like a 7 or 8 year NBA career. And also I think Reggie Johnson was on that team who played in the NBA during that time. But I mean, when you look at the NBA production, it was clear that Bernard King carried. Yeah, it was very clear that Bernard King carried them. But I want to throw another guy out at you guys because this guy did help lead Tennessee to an SEC regular season title his junior year while averaging over 21 points. And I'm talking about Dale Ellis in 81-82. He's actually, Dale Ellis, he averaged more points that year than Dalton is averaging this year, and he averaged more rebounds. Can't we make a case for Dale Ellis too in 81-82?
I'll tell you what, Jimmy.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. I'm sorry. My battery's going low. That's why my head's bobbing around. Yes, you can.
Jimmy
you
has.
can-
I want the answer on that question. His appearance brought to you by our good friends at Ray Varner Ford, but I want to answer that question of the comparison of Dell Ellis.
2023 F-150 4x4 Super Cab, $44,992. A 2023 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, $30,952. 2023 F-150 4x4 Super Crew XLT, $54,900. Ray Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
All right, Jim. So comparing the Dell Ellis as he's working through his technical difficulties, those are always fun. But comparing Dell Ellis to the Dalton Knecht year, Jimmy, how would you compare the two?
Dell Ellis was a great basketball player. He was the guy that he was 6'7" and he played inside. And Don DeVoe wouldn't let him take a shot, I don't think, outside of 12 feet. And it was amazing what he was able to do. He could post up. He had a very quick release, and he was very difficult for opposing centers to guard. And when he stepped out, his step out was 12 to 15 feet. If you came out to guard him, he'd go around you. If you didn't come out to guard you, he'd hit that shot. He was also a great defensive player. Dell Ellis is one of the 5 or 6 best players to ever play at Tennessee. And yes, you can make a very strong argument. And he also went on to have a great NBA career. I would say King and Ellis had the 2 best NBA careers of any former Tennessee players. Allen, great career. But I think Dell Ellis was a great player. His last 2 years at Tennessee was phenomenal. And he was a great all-around player. It was interesting that DeVoe wouldn't let you outside because he was such a good post player. But Ellis worked a lot in practice on shooting a 3 because he knew to the NBA he couldn't center at 6'7". And became, I think at one point he made more 3-pointers than other player. That sense has been broken, but he was a great player.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. That's great insight, Jimmy, because I looked at Dale, and college basketball didn't have. I don't think they had the 3-point line until later in the '80s. So when Dale Ellis was there, they didn't have it. So I didn't know that he was as much of a post-up player. I only saw his NBA stats, and I mean, we're talking about an incredible 3-point shooter. A couple other names I just wanted to point out. A guy on our show, Ron Slay, he did average over 20 points his senior year, even though Tennessee didn't make the NCAA tournament that year. And obviously Allen Houston. I think Dalton Knecht is definitely on that realm of players.
Now, the reason that I eliminate a lot of the other players is because I didn't think they were 3-level players. Dalton Knecht as a scorer can score from mid-range, can take it to the hoop, and score from 3-point line, obviously. To me, all of the other guys were better in one regard or the other. Allen Houston, Chris Lofton, 3-point guys, other guys, perimeter guys. I don't know that with Knecht. Maybe with Bernard King, there's a comparison, but with Knecht, I don't know if there's another guy that's been as good scoring at all 3 levels, Caleb.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right about the versatility, but I think we sometimes overvalue versatility as opposed to doing one thing great a lot of times. I mean, I think there's a few things great. Like, LeBron is a more versatile player than Michael Jordan. He is. But Michael Jordan was so much of a better scorer that it elevates him as a player over LeBron in a lot of ways. And so I think while Dalton Knecht his versatility counts, I think being able to do certain things great should also carry value. And again, I got to point this out. It's still true to me that Dalton Knecht has not been Tennessee basketball's most important player this year. This team has gone as Jonas Aidoo has gone. And if Jonas Aidoo has not scored double figures, Dalton Knecht hasn't been able to lift them to victory.
Let's see if we can bring Jimmy back in here. I think we have Jimmy Hyams. I think that may have been. No, did we lose Jimmy again? I think do we have Jimmy? I'm trying to bring Jimmy up. Caleb, what am I doing wrong here? I'm incredibly
no idea.
Let's go back and check the poll question if we can. Because Tennessee and South Carolina tonight, but Kentucky is Kentucky. Where does that rank among the various teams that you like to beat as I bring Jimmy in? Caleb, say something insightful.
Looking at the poll question now. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the poll question real quick. There were some people that were saying Kentucky sweep earlier, which is intriguing. I believe now the results are 83% clinch the SEC and 17% sweep Kentucky. So there are people who think that Tennessee who would rather see Tennessee sweep Kentucky. Funny enough, interesting.
All right, let's get going with running backs. So I'm watching the combine over the weekend. Jimmy Hyams nice enough to join us. We certainly appreciate him. You can check him out on the Sports Source and his columns on offthehooksports.com. We absolutely love working with him. Every Wednesday he joins us, brought to you by Ray Varner Ford. I'm watching the running backs over the weekend, and there was this former Tennessee running back that put up a 4.38. Do we perhaps underestimate the loss of Jalen Wright, Jimmy? Because 4.38, I did not think he was going to put that up. That's pretty elite speed for his size and power.
Dave, I wasn't that surprised by that speed. Remember, in the state of North Carolina, he was a sprint champion. He said he won the state. It was either the 55 or the meters. It was a shorter sprint, which to me translates better into the 40-yard dash than 100 meters, right? So I remember coming out of high school, he was a sprinter. He wasn't thought to be that tough. And then he gained 20, 25 pounds. He was reluctant to put that weight on because he thought it would affect his speed. Well, he put the weight on, it didn't affect the speed. And I remember I think it was a 75-yard run against Georgia, and he defensive backs. And I thought he just made a lot of money with that run because I knew he had really speed. And the question was, would he maintain that speed when he put it on? And he did. So, and I think it was Mel Kigham rated the number 9 running back draft. I thought that was absurd. He's better than that. And to your question, yes, Tennessee's that guy. I had with Jabari Small and with Sampson and with Wright is better than the threesome that they have this upcoming year. But Wright averaged what, yards a carry? The only thing that kept him from being a coach, he didn't play him that much. If he had the normal amount of carries, what he averaged, like 12 carries a game, which is ran real fast because he was a sprint champion in high school. And I think he's going to be a really good NFL running back.
Caleb, let me ask you this. So who steps up in the spring, if you want to set that up for Jim?
Yeah, so I could be wrong, but I don't think Peyton Lewis is there in the spring, and I don't think Dylan Sampson at this point is capable of being a feature back. So I think a lot of the pressure in the spring right now, isn't it on Cam Seldon? Because Tennessee doesn't really have a running back room. Jimmy, how crucial is it for Cam Seldon to really step up in the spring?
It's huge. It's really big. They need him to be a really solid running back. I guess the other guy they have is Khalifa Keith, who has not shown yet what he is able to do. But yeah, I think it's a big one for Seldon. I like him. He is a bigger back, much bigger than Sampson. He is a guy that I thought showed flashes last year, and I thought he played well in the Citrus Bowl against Iowa. So I think it's a huge spring for him. And I think Seldon and Sampson can be a really good 1-2 combination. But in Tennessee's offense, and in most offenses, you need a third running back because running backs typically get banged up. I mean, Jabari Small couldn't stay healthy throughout his career at Tennessee, for example. So, yeah, I think it's a big for Seldon.
Take 1 second to hit that like and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate that. And why Cam Seldon isn't just another spring practice warrior, I want to ask you, Jimmy, about that because he remembers the Kirsten Biggers and the Michael Brewsters of the world, but I don't think Seldon's that type of cat. 60 seconds. Jimmy's appearance brought to you by Ray Varner Ford.
Welcome to Ray Varner Ford in Clinton, where every turn meets
I
new
don't think he's that
possibilities
guy
and
either.
every mile
Seldon.
celebrates the cutting-edge innovation within our Ford lineup. Elevate your journey in this new 2023 F-150 4x4 Super Cab, $44,992. A 2023 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, $30,952. 2023 F-150 4x4 Super Crew XLT, $54,900. Local you trust, innovation you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, your East Tennessee Ford dealership.
So when Jimmy and I worked together in the early 2000s, there were actually 5 straight years where a Tennessee running back set the all-time record for spring rushing yardage. And Jimmy doesn't remember that, but it basically did happen where you had Kirsten Biggers and then you had Michael Stewart, I think was his name, and he went to Hawaii and actually played, if I remember correctly. Why is Cam Selden not just a spring guy taking up snaps and he's a special player? Why is he a real fall player and not just a spring running back?
He's bigger than those other guys, for one. He also, and he's pretty fast too. He's not Jalen Wright fast, but he's got some speed about him. I think he could be a really good inside the tackles runner with his size. He was more highly rated than the other two. I think the other two you're talking about, and they were more. I don't know if it was 5 years in a row, but there were a lot of somebody in the spring game would pop and get a lot of yards, and most of those guys were walk-on. And Selden's not. Selden's a pretty highly recruited guy. So I don't see him just being a flash in the pan or a spring standout like those other guys were. I think he can be the real deal. I'm very high on him, and I think you will see him continue to get better in this offense and continue to improve as he gains experience at Tennessee.
David Yancey was another one, Caleb. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jimmy.
He was.
I want to say, and tell me if I'm crazy, but see, I think with Heupel, spring is even less relevant because he's so bare bones with how he runs this offense, and he tries to keep everything close to the vest. But I think that's like magnified at running back this year because Peyton Lewis is not going to be on campus in the spring, and I think Peyton Lewis is going to take that spot. So, are we going to learn anything about the running backs in spring ball at all from Heupel?
Well, and one quick clarification: Peyton is enrolled, but he had a procedure, so he's not going to participate in spring practice. One clarification. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay.
I think we could learn a little bit about Selden could get better. The one that I would think that you might be able to learn about is Keith. Is he good enough? I don't know that. Maybe he shows that in the spring. Caleb, you're right. They limit a lot of what they do in the spring with the running backs. But, yeah, I think he would be the guy we might learn the most about. Deshaun Bishop's on the team. He was a local star. He played at Carnes. He either set or came close to setting for rushing. He's a nice back. The question mark about him is his speed. I don't know if he's any faster than like a 4.65, and he's not a big back, so that kind of hurts him a little bit. Great vision. I don't know. Time will tell if he can play at this level. But the one that I think you can learn the most about is whether Keith is ready to.
Portions of the program brought to you by our friend Rick Terry at Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the Fire Opals, the Tennessee tradition? Rick Terry Jewelry. RickTerryJewelry.com. You okay there, Caleb? Was that a little sneeze? What happened there?
That was a cough. That was a cough.
Right, because he sneezes in like sevens. So, Jimmy, I've got to basically put the show on hold when Caleb starts to sneeze. Speaking of guys that have to perform on a daily basis, the Tennessee's wide receivers will have to do so. Now, Brew McCoy is not going to participate, obviously, because of the injury. I don't know about you, Jimmy, but I just keep hearing what a leader he is. So I know it's kind of trite, and we ask this of injured players from time to time, but what kind of influence can he have on that room because of his leadership? And just to add a little something else, I was just blown away by an autograph signing that he had and the way he treated fans. Just a very, very mature young man.
He is a very mature young man. Now, he had a little bit of a checkered history there at USC, but I think he's grown up a lot. He has been accepted at Tennessee. He's been productive at Tennessee. Best blocker among the receivers. He's a dependable receiver. He's not a guy that's going to too many 50-yard passes for you, but I think he does have the leadership skills. I think that room probably could, because I don't know of any other receiver steps to the plate like that. I don't think White. I don't think it's Dante Thornton. No, I don't think it's the two guys that played for Tennessee and Nimrod and Webb. But and then you got the five-star freshman Matthews coming in. So I think McCoy could be like this group. I think they're going to be good. I think they have a chance to be better than last year, in part because McCoy played 5 games last year. So if you can get 12, 13, 14 games, whatever, out of him, then I think that makes a difference. But I'm very high on McCoy. I think he's got an NFL body. He kind of reminds me a little bit size-wise and what he brings to you to Dwan Jennings.
Yeah, I love that comparison, and they also both wear number 15. Funny enough, Jimmy, one of the intriguing things is that Brew McCoy is one reason I disagree. There's this article written by Chip Patterson yesterday at CBS breaking down the best quarterback wide receiver duos going into college football this year. And he acknowledged Nico, but that Nico was left off the list because they couldn't figure out a receiver to make the duo. But I don't know where you land. I disagree with that because isn't it pretty obvious that if McCoy is healthy, he's going to be the other receiver, or that's going to be the QB receiver duo?
Yeah, I like McCoy. I think now Squirrel White caught 67 passes maybe last year, something in that range. McCoy caught, I think, 52 the year before with Hendon Hooker. I'd be surprised if he doesn't catch well over 2 passes this season. I think he'll be a primary target. Now, I know last year, earlier, nobody told me this, but it looked to me like when Milton was in trouble with his accuracy and they started going to that quick out passing game, that they would throw it to Squirrel because McCoy was the best blocker. So he had many passes because he was out there blocking for his teammates. I don't think you'll see as much of that this year. I think Nico's going to be a more accurate passer. I think it will hit McCoy more or intermediate routes at least, slants, whatever. So I think you'll see McCoy being more part of the passing game than he was in his limited playing time last season.
Elias says, I might regret this, but I'm big on the potential of Thornton this season. We all were big on the potential of Dante Thornton last season, and we saw how that shook out. Eventually, I thought he played well before the injury. Jimmy, could he be Tennessee's comeback player of the year this year?
He could be. And to some respect, he needs to be. He didn't do much of anything the first few games. Now, and I agree with your point. Just when he started to come out, he catches a touchdown pass and gets. So maybe the message there is don't catch any touchdown passes. You can stay healthy. No, he needs to be a good performer for them. In this offense, you really need 3 guys that can perform for you at least. And when Tennessee was at its best a few years ago, a couple of years ago, they had Hyatt, they had. That's a pretty darn good threesome right there. So, yeah, Thornton needs to step up, and he can be he's 6'5", and he's got really good speed. He needs to be invested. He needs to, and here's the other thing too. If he wants to play in the NFL, well, now's your time to shine. And I think him.
Point.
So, Jimmy, moving on beyond Brew, looking at the receiving core this year, you just talked about Squirrel White. I would assume he's the main slot guy, but do you see any of the newcomers, Mike Matthews, Chris Brazel? Do you see any of those guys working themselves into the rotation? And do you think spring would be a chance for them to do that?
I do think the spring is a chance to do that. One of the key things for that, the offense is built so much on reading the defense, and you have to be on the same page with the quarterback. I'm pretty confident that Nico's smart enough. He's been in the system. I think job as well. And so I think that they have a chance this spring to work into the rotation. I'd be really surprised, Caleb, if one of those two don't, whether it's Brazil or Matthews. I think one of those two. Now, as you know, the rotation is very, very slim. He doesn't play a lot of receivers. So you got to be in that time, or you may not get a whole lot of playing time. But I would be surprised Brazil or Matthews don't step in and become one of the receivers in the rotation.
That is interesting. You mentioned that, Jimmy. And again, Jimmy's appearance brought to you by each and every Wednesday by Ray Varner, Ford Selection, Best Prices, Hometown Customer Service in Clinton, Tennessee. Worth the drive, no matter where you're coming from. RayVarnerFord.com, RayVarnerFord.com. And Jimmy, at what point do you kind of have to be in the party to make the party? because you referred to how Tennessee doesn't play a lot of receivers, and they don't. They settle on 3, and because of their substitution patterns or lack thereof, they want to stick with those 3 primarily. And I think they also want to make sure that the reads are correct. So that's their most confident 3 that they feel are on the field. At what point, if you're Matthews, did you not get into the party? Is that summer? Is that spring where you're like, oh man, I feel like I'm on the outside looking in a little bit?
Well, from the spring to August, that's a lot of time. So for you to get better, to improve, to learn the offense, to study tape and so forth. So I would say if you made that rotation by late August, you're in trouble. But I think until late August, you have a chance to do that. And you've got a couple of scrimmages in which you can do in August. So I think that would be a key for those guys as well. Now, the other avenue is for somebody, which is not what you would want if you're Tennessee. But if you haven't made it, it'd be hard to break in. But we have seen a lot of players that the light bulb comes on at different times. So maybe for Brazil or Matthews, it comes on in game 4 or game 6. And so may feel more confident to insert them that time. But I would say if you haven't made that rotation late August after the second scrimmage, you would be in trouble of making the rotation.
Good deal. All right. If you had to predict, last thing, Jimmy, I'm going to let you out of here. If you had to predict who has the biggest spring among the receivers as far as ascension up the depth chart, who would it be?
I'm going to go with Brazil. I think the fact that he has got college experience, he caught 44. I think he's the guy that is more ready to play and to plug and play than Matthews. Now, Matthews may end up having the bigger upside, but I think right off the bat, just the college experience at Brazil go with him.
I heard both are incredibly mature, so I would offer that up as well. So I think that while most of the time I write off freshmen, I'm not writing those 2 off based off what I've heard at this point. Jimmy, we certainly appreciate it. As always, great piece on C.J. Watson, which I would encourage people to check out. And let's go ahead and get your pick, Tennessee, South Carolina. How do you see this game shaking out?
I think Tennessee wins it. I think that the first matchup, I know that Tennessee started poorly. They couldn't make a layup. They missed dunks. I think they were 8 of 21 in or around the rim. I don't think that'll happen again. Ziegler didn't have a good game. Adu did a game. Tennessee usually is pretty good playing an opponent a second time. For example, Texas A&M against the Aggies, and they won by 35. I think Tennessee beats South Carolina, but I think South Carolina will make it ugly. They'll slow play it. I'll take Tennessee by 5.
Good stuff, Jimmy. We appreciate it. Jimmy Hyams brought to you by Ray Varner Ford and Clinton Worth the Drive. Thank you, Jimmy. We greatly appreciate that. In 2 minutes, we're going to dig into this day in Tennessee sports history, and it's a good one. Caleb sold it. And also, you got another national media member, I believe, dissing Josh Heupel, or at least uncertain about Josh Heupel. When does the nation believe? Well, it's not yet. Stay tuned off those sports.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn at cctis.com.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air. Dare to compare.
We believe every day is a good day to be thirsty. With free samples on draft and lots of flavors to choose from, Tennessee Cider Company prepares a hard cider that's easy to enjoy. Some say it's the signature cider of the South. Others say it's the cure to your craving. They all say you'll savor every sip. The area of Gatlinburg has so much to offer, and so does Tennessee Cider Company. Add us to your list for shopping and fun experiences. You'll be glad you made the trip. Find our cidery in the Mountain Mall on the Gatlinburg Parkway. Sip smart. Sip the good stuff. Sip Tennessee Cider Company. Thirsty yet? Doors open at 10 a.m.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
This day in Tennessee sports history coming up, an overtime win. But I first have to chide just a little bit Caleb Calhoun. We did this day in sports history yesterday, and you didn't mention Peyton Manning made his announcement that he was coming back for his senior year.
I'm sorry. Mistake on my end. I apologize. I thought I had a pretty good this day in sports history yesterday. I believe it was when Tennessee clinched the outright SEC title in 2008. But yes, I should have gotten the Peyton Manning one. That was a big one. Hey, I got the leap day Peyton Manning trainer incident. That only comes once every 4 years.
Listen, it's okay because we probably would have played the audio and then Facebook would try to kick us off again, which they're trying to do again. So everybody, if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and go to YouTube. We'll just take a second to remind everybody, a bunch of new listeners today, hit the like and subscribe button, turn your notifications on, leave us a review, and share. I haven't asked a lot of people to share, but I would greatly appreciate that. So this day in Tennessee football history, and it's March the 6th, 2024, is brought to you by our good friends at the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Go to hemphousechat2ts.com, hemphousechat2ts.com. Use the promo code HOOK for 10% off, promo code HOOK for 10% off. This day in Tennessee sports history, what do we got? An overtime win back in the 60s. I love it.
Yes, this is in basketball, and this is some good stuff right here, guys. Ray Mears was in his 5th year at Tennessee. This was a program that had not won an SEC regular season title since World War II to this point, since during the middle of the war. Okay, so we're 25 years later almost. Tennessee, on the last day of the regular season, travels to Mississippi State and beats them 78-76 in 3 overtimes to clinch the regular season SEC title, their first in 24 years and the first under Ray Mears. They finished that year 21-7. Ryan Woodby was on that team. For those who don't know, he's probably the first great Tennessee basketball star. He is the Gene McKeever.
He's probably the first great, well, you'd say Atkins, but Whitby was an incredible punter too. He was an all-around athlete and ran track as well.
And it's funny you say that because Whitby was a winner, because that dude, after leading Tennessee to the SEC regular season title, you are right, I believe was a member of the 67 football team that also won the SEC title and decided to retroactively name themselves national champions. By the way, guys, spoiler alert, I'm working on a video for my history videos on the most absurd national title claims. Tennessee in 1967 is on there. They should take down that banner.
There's worse ones than Alabama at Alabama. We'll discuss that when your video comes out, and I look forward to those. Hey, can we pull up those Josh Heupel rankings, if you don't mind? That was this day in Tennessee sports history, and we certainly appreciate that. Brought to you by our good friends at the Hemp House. But I want to get to Joe Milton. Did he help himself in the combine? I have an unpopular opinion on that. I'll share that with you momentarily. But first, I want to go with the Josh Heupel rankings. If there's a chance that we could pull that up and put that on the screen, because I want to get to the coaches who the national media still deem as better coaches than Josh Heupel. So I'm going to ask this.
Well, I won't be able to put the full. I won't be able to put the full list on the screen because they do like.
You just don't. Okay, well, let's just do this. All right, who would you trade for Josh Heupel right now? Now I know Tennessee, you have some loyalty to Josh Heupel and you have some emotions tied to Josh Heupel. But let me go this route a little bit, if I may. And this route is this. You're a big school. You're University U, wherever. Would you take this guy based off of his success over Josh Heupel, or would you stick with Heupel knowing that I think he has incredible upside? So sticking with Heupel gets a hey now. Not sticking with Heupel gets a that's crazy. Not even close gets a
you suck, you jackass.
Who's number one on the list? And tell me.
Well, let's first lay out who we're talking about here.
Okay,
because
who we're talking about here.
Okay. Stuart Mandel and Bruce Feldman, each of the Athletic, did their own head coach rankings for 2024 with Nick Saban retired.
Okay.
Stuart Mandel had Josh Heupel all the way down at number 24. Bruce Feldman had Josh Heupel down at number 17, which both of those were insane to me.
Okay. I think that is a little insane. Yes, that's way low. I would have him more along the 10 to 15 range. How about you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 10 to 15 range.
Okay. So let's go to the ones before it. We're going to run through these. Okay. So go to number one. It has to be Kirby Smart, right?
Yes. Kirby Smart is number one, and he's number one on both lists.
Hey now. I can't argue with, Tennessee or any school would take Kirby Smart over Josh Heupel with what he's done. Who else?
Number two, Dabo Swinney.
Hey now. I would have to take him. He brings stability. He brings championships. What else? Even though I think he's on the downside of his career.
All right. So number three on Feldman's list and number two on Stuart Mandel's list is Lance Leipold at Kansas.
That's crazy. I don't get that one. I know that he's made himself very available to a lot of media members, and that can help you in these rankings. Can I just leave it at that without saying something mean?
That you mean what Bobby Bowden did for a long time?
Yes. Portions of the program brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. Go to rickterryjewelry.com. The Tennessee tradition is the Fire Opals. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. Rick Terry Jewelry Design, rickterryjewelry.com. Please support our sponsors. That's why we're here. Who's next?
By the way, because you don't ask my opinion and ever value mine, Dave. No, I'm kidding. I agree with you on the first three. I agree with you on all the first three. I'm with you on all the first three. Okay.
You're the setup guy in this scenario. Here we go. Set me up.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is going to make Dave's head explode, guys.
Actually, just do this. You jump in if you vehemently disagree. How about that?
Okay. Number three on Mandel's, number four on Feldman's, Kalen DeBoer, Alabama.
You suck, you jackass.
I'm not going there. I don't think he has, and it's not because things are blowing up at Alabama. I just don't think that there's enough of a track record of success, personally. You?
Oh, yeah, no, I actually agree with you. All right, so number four on Mandel's list and number 10 on Feldman's list is Mike Norvell at Florida State.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Both we're in agreement.
Both have done a similar thing. I mean, they're in contention each once in their career for a college football playoff, but they didn't make it. So I think they're very similar. I don't know how one would be that far ahead of the others. That really surprises me. I'd be willing to make a bet that moving forward, Josh Heupel has more success. And by the way, with BetUS, your college basketball betting home, March is here. Get 125% bonus on your first three deposits of up to $2,000 plus a 10% gambler's insurance. The link is right below. Use that for that 125% bonus on your first three deposits on up to $2,000. Who's next? Caleb Calhoun.
All right. So next after that, both ahead of Heupel, Kyle Whittingham, 5 on Mandel's and 8th on Feldman's.
That's crazy.
I don't think there's an avenue in which Whittingham turns himself into a championship winning coach. I think there is an avenue for Josh Heupel, so I'm going to go with Josh Heupel. You vehemently disagree.
I'm still going to go based on accomplishments. I actually have to agree. I think it's Whittingham. Whittingham also took Utah undefeated in 2008 and beat Alabama. Remember that?
That's true. That's true. Very fair. Very fair. Yeah, I remember what he did at Utah. I didn't remember that it was undefeated. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So number 6 on both of their list is Brian Kelly, LSU.
Hey now. Oh, I mean, I have to take that. I mean, the guy got to the college football playoff. I'm doing this a lot of accomplishments. I think you could make an argument that you would want Heupel's upside and longer career, which you would think it would be based off age, than Kelly. But if you're basing it off what they've done, I don't see how you could argue against Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I totally agree. Now, number 15 under Mandel and number 7. I'm not gonna name these numbers anymore. I'm just gonna say the coaches that both people have ahead of Heupel. James Franklin, Penn State.
You suck, you jackass.
Keep going.
No, I disagree with you. I'd have James Franklin over Heupel right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Accomplishments, Big Ten title. Yeah, he's won a Big Ten title, and he got Vanderbilt into the top 25. That's the most impossible thing ever done in the history of college football. So,
that's fair. I thought their schedule was bloated. That's fair in the Penn State thing. I could debate the Vanderbilt, but let's move on.
Okay. Hater. Okay. We might disagree on this one, but I'm ready to go for it. Ryan Day, Ohio State.
No, I'm with you. You say some crazy stuff sometimes, but that's the thing I love about Caleb is 70% of it stick.
So that's crazy?
That's you
close for this.
Suck, you jackass.
I might take Josh Heupel over Ryan Day right now if I'm Ohio University or some major school that can pick between the two. Or if I'm Michigan that comes open after the offensive line coach they hired. Do I take Ryan Day or do I take Josh Heupel? I would take Josh Heupel. I'm just using them. Miami, it could be anybody. Who else?
All right, so going forward, we are going to nix Mike Gundy because Bruce Feldman does have Heupel ahead of Mike Gundy. So, okay, what about...
That surprises me a little bit. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it does. It does. Okay, what about Lincoln Riley?
Lincoln Riley, completely, I don't even have a sounder for it. I guess it's this.
Say wham.
They're equal to me until one of them wins a championship. I prefer Heupel because he cares about power running football and he cares about defense. I prefer him, but I can't say that one's better than the other right now until somebody does something exemplary on their resume.
Okay, I'm actually with you. I'm with you. What about oral boy Sark?
You said or oral boy Sark. I don't know what that meant.
Sarkeesian.
Okay, I'm going to take Heupel because, and I hope everything's okay in all seriousness with Steve Sarkisian and his drinking problem he had, but he did have it. So I'm going to take Josh Heupel based off that. All right, who's next? Brought to you by Boundless Moving. From their 2-hour minimum to turnkey operations, they've got you covered. Personal service without limits. Not just a tagline. It's part of who they are. It's in their DNA. Boundless Moving. That's my mover. Support our sponsors. That's why we're here. All right, who's next?
Okay, so a couple more that are in both. There is Jeff Brom.
That's crazy.
You think it's crazy?
Yeah, I'd take Heupel over Brom.
I think that's fair. I think I'm probably with you on this. Okay.
And somebody posted on the message board, look, I love Hype. He's just got to prove it this year. We're under the assumption that he is going to prove it this year to at least the extent of 10 wins, right? I mean, that's what we're assuming. If that's not the case, then we're having a way different discussion 12 months from now. Who else is on this list?
Yeah, we're absolutely having a different discussion at that point. Okay, so a couple more. These are some funny ones, by the way. Chris Kleinman, Kansas State.
You suck, you jackass.
I don't even understand.
I haven't gotten one Peyton on this one. I think I'm going to get Peyton on this one. I got a couple more for Peyton that we can bring Peyton. But
I forgot about Peyton altogether. Okay, go. Yeah, you get some Peyton because he's my favorite drop.
Okay, this might be Peyton one. Both of them have Mark Stoops ahead of Heupel.
That's hot.
They're like, that is total bullshit.
Hot and BS. No, I can't have Stoops ahead of. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Stoops is at a program where he's fine being average. Josh Heupel's at a program where if he's average, he's going to get fired in 3 years.
Now, here's the fun one. Ready, Tennessee fans? I think every Tennessee fan's head is going to explode that both have ahead of him.
Scared.
Dave Clawson at Wake Forest.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
I didn't know which one to play because Dave Clawson has completely rebuilt his career. He doesn't do the flip-flopping of offensive linemen. I've talked to coaches who have been blown away. He was so bad at Tennessee that he might not ever get a better shot than Wake, but what he's done at Wake has been tremendous. So I think you actually have to have this conversation of, are they equals? Equals in that they're not the same person, but equals in that they're equally likable as a hiring agent, okay? But they're not equals in terms of, I think one has a glass ceiling. I think the other can win championships. But right now, Clawson at Wake has been pretty good.
He has. I think Dave Clawson is the perfect hire for Wake Forest. Is that fair to say?
I agree. And the most imperfect hire for Tennessee as an offensive coordinator in 2000.
The most imperfect hire for Tennessee possible. Yeah, no, I think Dave Clawson was the perfect hire for Wake Forest. He's done a very good job. I still would take Josh Heupel because I do think Josh Heupel has a higher ceiling. And also, look, Dave Clawson's best year at Wake Forest in 10 years there was they went 11-3 in 2021, and he played for the ACC title and finished in the top 15. Josh Heupel's best year was going 11-2 and finishing in the top 6, and he also finished in the top 10 at UCF one year, which going undefeated at UCF is kind of the effect of losing 3 games in the ACC, kind of similar. So I think Josh Heupel has. I'm going to go Josh Heupel above Dave Clawson. Even though,
but it's closer than most people would like to hear that follow Tennessee. Rob says, like and subscribe and share, not on Facebook. You can still share on Facebook. Hopefully we won't get banned again, but if we do, we'll roll on.
Now, by the way, Stuart Mandel had Kirk Ferenz ahead of Josh Heupel. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not Stuart Mandel. Feldman had Kirk Ferenz ahead of Josh Heupel, if you want your head to explode.
To me, that's almost comparing Sharks and Lions. I mean, they're just so different. One is totally okay with winning 9 games the rest of his career. The other, if you told him that you're only going to average 9 wins a season for the rest of your career, would be physically ill. I mean, they're just 2 totally different cats. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Kirk Ferenz has mastered the art of doing just enough to not get fired so he collects a paycheck every year.
Yes, and lowering expectations. He's not one that comes out and crows about his signing day. He's one that comes out and says, well, we got to develop these players. They're not very good. What he's going to end up developing players for is other programs. But nevertheless, anybody else in front of Heupel? It feels like there's been an army, an Italian army in front of one.
Okay, we can go. These are ones that that they don't agree on, but there's a few more that Stuart Mandel has ahead of Heupel. I can go down the list real quick. So we can name Lane Kiffin. That's actually a debatable one.
That's hot.
I think they're coin flip, but I would probably.
If I didn't know that was Paris Hilton, I just thought that was Lane Kiffin's girlfriend talking to him.
It probably was. Maybe it was. As a matter of fact, maybe I got him to record that for me. You never know. Okay, I would actually go Heupel because of the.
That's hot.
Reference that you mentioned. Who else you got?
Okay. I actually agree with this one, and you probably won't, but Luke Fickell at Wisconsin.
They're like, that is total bullshit.
I like Luke. I don't like Luke that much.
Luke Fickell got to a college football playoff. Heupel hasn't done that yet.
That's true. At a smaller school. All right. Fair. I'll give you that one.
Okay. So we are, let's see. We mentioned Dave Clawson, Jeff Brom. Did we mention Jeff Brom at Louisville? Both of them had Jeff Brom ahead of him.
They're like, that is total bullshit.
I don't see that. Do you? Is that just because he's longer?
Well, Tennessee almost hired Jeff Brom in 2017, and I think he has a very good cutting edge offense. So I could see the argument because he did go, but 11-2 at Louisville is not 11-2 at Tennessee. And as a matter of fact, it was 10-3 and he lost to Kentucky. So
I'm going to trust your judgment. I haven't seen him in a while, but his offense in a while. But last time I saw it, it was pretty pro style. But I'll trust your judgment on that because
It's actually like it's like a new version of it. It's similar to what Jeff Tedford and Pat Hill used to do. Not in the sense that it's a pro style offense, but it's very creative and ahead of its time for the college level. Does that make sense?
You take it over Heupel's.
No, I wouldn't. But I wouldn't pick any. Yeah. Now here's a few ones that I'm just like, what? This is like Stuart Mandel. I mean,
well, let's run through these. Let's not belabor the point of ripping these poor guys. In the end, where were they?
Heupel was 24th under Mandel and 17th under Feldman. So Mandel had Willie Fritz at Houston ahead of Heupel. He had Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. Huh?
Willie Fritz at Houston.
Yes.
I don't want to just rip reporters. I mean, the rest of them don't make any sense to me.
Jonathan Smith at Michigan State, Matt Campbell at Iowa State, and Jed Fish at Washington.
Okie dokie. Well, there we go. That's
someone was partying with Steve Sarkisian when he did this list.
Shots.
The ladies love it.
The ladies love the shots. That's what they do. Yeah, they actually sometimes they do. Sometimes I'm
not going to finish that lyric. You guys can look it up online because it's very, very. It's too vulgar for a family-friendly show.
Yes, very good, very good. I appreciate you doing that. All right, Joe Milton threw in the combine and people raved. That's what they were going to do because he's got a strong arm and he can throw the football very, very far. That's just what he does, and we understand that. We're going to discuss that next, and also. Caleb Calhoun has a very interesting thought for what would be essentially the game-defining moment of the season. You would think Alabama, you would think Florida, right? You would think all of those, but that's not what Caleb Calhoun says, and we'll be back and discuss that in 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
Sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
How about more recruiting coverage and prizes? Join Hooker's Corner for the Inside Skinny and prizes you won't believe. Each week we give away a t-shirt or a book as far as our lead-up prize to the end of the month. You can see if you're on our video channel on YouTube, you can see Hooker's Corner, our page. Become a John, just $9.98. Notice 98 cents a month, and you can win weekly prizes plus the monthly prize, which this month, I should say, is a Brew McCoy autographed mini helmet, which if we can pull up, we can scroll down a little bit there, Caleb. It is a fantastic looking helmet. going. Yeah, keep going. You're almost there. And then it was above. It was above. Click there. We got the see if you can click on that and see if it brings up the helmet. There it is. There's that Brew McCoy helmet. That's tight. Do you like the black and orange? That makes me think of my pal Panthers.
That looks pretty dope. I'll be honest. It looks pretty epic.
All right, hit the like and subscribe button. I will go ahead and put the Hooker's Corner link to join if you would like to join. But what do you think of that helmet? That looks pretty cool.
Oh, it's amazing. Loving it. I mean, the Power T, Brew McCoy, the number 15, the black. It's yeah, guys, this is an epic helmet. And you're gonna want this now because Brew McCoy's stock is not where I think it will be if he is healthy this whole season. I'll just put it at that.
All right. And we're hoping to add something Dalton Knecht-ish to that, but I can't make a promise on that. But we'll probably get something Dalton Knecht-ish. By the way, he is as red hot as a prospect, a prospect of NIL guys like me, or collectives. He is as hot as they come right now, I'm told. Other than a Nico, a quarterback on the football team, I'm told he is red hot, and he's going to continue to be so. That's no great surprise. Tennessee with an opportunity to win the SEC against South Carolina tonight. We'll talk more about that here momentarily. And also, you can go to our merch shop if you prefer just to buy the book, Celebrate 98, or our NCAA versus the State of Tennessee t-shirt, which we absolutely love. But it is time for 4 Downs, and it's brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. We certainly love them. 4 Downs brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas, where if you mention Off the Hook Sports, you get $500 off your spa. Here we go.
4 Downs brought to you by Dynasty Spas, the most comfortable spas made in the United States of America, right here in East Tennessee. Drop in for the all-new showroom in Athens. Dynasty Spas, perfect for all 4 seasons. 4 Downs, presented by Off the Hook Sports.
And it certainly is, and we're going to get right into what the one, the only Caleb Calhoun calls a season-defining game. What should people do, Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right, first down. Let's get it out there.
Coop here. First down.
What is Caleb's game-defining or season-defining game this season? What is Caleb Calhoun's season-defining game this season?
It is NC State. North
What are you talking
Carolina State. The Wolfpack. Oh! Bum, bum, ba-na-na-na. Yeah, anybody? WCW, NWO, the Wolfpack? 98?
No idea what you're talking about.
Oh, man. Okay. That Kevin Nash was a leader who went to Tennessee, played center for Tennessee basketball in the early 80s.
Remember Kevin Nash?
Yes, Big Sexy with Lex Luger and Sting and Conan. It's the Wolfpack. And here's why it's the Wolfpack. And I'm just going to break this down for you guys. Everybody thinks you're going to know about Tennessee when it comes to Oklahoma. And I get it. They travel to Oklahoma. That's Josh Heupel going back to his alma mater. That will be the game that propels Nico into a national star. I will give you guys that. However, I actually think NC State's a tougher opponent this year than Oklahoma. I do. That's my craziest take of the year. And so I think we will really know about what Tennessee has with Nico when Tennessee plays NC State, and that game is in Charlotte. Now, it's technically a home game for Tennessee, I believe. Even though it's on a neutral field, I think Tennessee is going to wear home jerseys. But the point I'm trying to make is that you'll know more about Tennessee playing NC State than you will them playing Oklahoma. NC State is, I think, a more imposing opponent with old one Dave Doran there in his 12th season.
With one Dave Doran. All right, so this is our early season games that, for the most part, that I'm taking a look at. So Georgia, obviously, if they beat Georgia later in the season, that would be huge. I mean, that would be a season-defining moment. So I'm going to go with Florida, Oklahoma, NC State, and then Alabama. That's not exactly an early season game, but it's close enough. So I'm going to go with those 4 on the poll question, and we would encourage you to check it out. What game will define the Vols season? Florida, Alabama, Oklahoma, and NC State. I think it's Alabama. And I think it's not only define the season, I think it's defined the next decade. This is a series of streaks. Tennessee has the opportunity to start a streak and dominate Alabama. For those of you that are too young, that used to be the case. There was a song written, "We Own Alabama," about the University of Tennessee. That was the case, and that can be the case again. This is your time, guys, to flip it and make this a streak on the other end. Caleb, I know you like Kalen DeBoer at Alabama more than I do. I'm curious what your thoughts are for the opportunity that Tennessee has to flip this thing and dominate Alabama the way they've done in the past and the way they just got dominated by the Crimson Tide. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. Don't trust a fly-by-night HVAC company to tell you that you need a new unit that could cost you thousands or more. Am I wrong, Caleb? Again, go to cityheatandair.com. Am I wrong?
I think that's a very good one. I think Alabama is a very good one. I actually think you make a great point because Tennessee should really, no pun intended, turn the tide against Alabama going forward. I just look at Alabama and I think, look, they got a really brutal SEC draw, and that was a revenge decision by Greg Sankey because he was mad that Nick Saban blocked the SEC going to 9 games. And so I think they decided to punish Alabama with that. So I think Kalen DeBoer is already playing with a few cards short, given all the given the schedule, the transfer portal, and the talent. So look, I think Alabama's going to be 4-2 when they're headed into Tennessee. I'm just going to tell you this right now. They're losing to Georgia September the 28th, right?
Yes. I think 4-2. Yeah, that's exactly where I had them, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was worse. I think this is a meltdown of a season.
Yeah, I think they're losing at Wisconsin, and they're going to lose at home to Georgia. I think they're going to lose both those games to start the year, honestly. So I think they're going to be 4-2 heading into Tennessee, and I think those 2 losses, I think they're just going to be reeling, honestly. And I think Tennessee, yeah, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I would be shocked if Tennessee's not 6-0 with Alabama coming to town. Okay. I don't see them losing to Oklahoma or NC State.
Well, then I think I know your answer to this. Can we go second down in the hot tub? By the way, Coop, what are people supposed to do?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
There we go.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Okay, what's your second game-defining or season-defining game? You say NC State. I am going to go the easy way out. It's Oklahoma, and I think that means a lot to Josh Heupel, means a lot to this program. So I'm going the easy way out. I will go Oklahoma, but I'm curious if you had to pick an SEC opponent, would it be Alabama? Caleb?
Yeah. Yes, it would be Alabama. It would be Alabama. But I actually agree with you. I think Oklahoma's number 2, which, by the way, that's an SEC game. So I almost forgot that's an SEC game.
I did too. Yeah. Okay. I'd say we're going to do that a lot. By the way, our friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas want to remind you they bring you 4 downs each and every day, and we certainly appreciate them. Where they also bring you a gentleman called Ron Slay, who played for the Vols, and also Josh Ward. So let's get to third down before I tell you more about Dynasty Pools and Spas in Athens with that great showroom, and they deliver. What down, Coop?
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Yeah, through that SEC, Oklahoma being in the SEC that, was just announced like 2 years ago, kind of threw me off a little bit. Is the Florida game just a given? That's third down.
If the Florida game is not a given, it will never be a given. Like,
I can't say that any better.
Like, guys, we're very close. We're dangerously close to saying Tennessee is to Florida what Kentucky is to Tennessee at this point. And
wow. Strong. All right. That's strong. Brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. So what program should Tennessee be most concerned about in the next 5 years? Imagine having the best spas made right here in the United States of America in your backyard. Dynasty Pools and Spas, their showroom is open in Athens right off the interstate. You can stop by and check out the best hot tubs and spas in the market. And then delivery, yes, they can do that to Knoxville or Chattanooga. They've got complete support, spa cover, and chemicals to keep your spa bubbling at its best. They also have pool chemicals as well. Dynasty Pools and Spas, amazing discounts for first responders, military, and even some blemished models that can save you a ton, and no one will ever notice. Mention Off the Hook Sports, get $500 off. Mention Off the Hook Sports, get $500 off. Dynasty Pools and Spas. Go to dynastypoolsandspas.com or stop by that showroom in Athens. dynastypoolsandspas.com. Dynasty Pools and Spas. Man, that spa looks comfy. I need to be in that. Hit that like and subscribe button if you hadn't done it yet.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe. All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
You have to pick of the series that are on Tennessee's schedule this season. What is the Heupel defining series of all of these? We've talked about season defining game. I'm talking about series. I'm talking about career-defining series. We mentioned the University of Alabama, but ultimately, I believe it's going to be Georgia. That will ultimately define what Josh Heupel is as a coach, championship or not.
Yes, but I don't think Heupel has to have a winning record against Georgia. I know that maybe seem unfair. I just think he's got to be able to win, out of 6 years, win 2. Is that fair to say?
No. I think it's low. I think you expect to win at home, and then you're going to win occasionally on the road, and you're going to lose at home. I think with any rival, you should expect to win 50% of your games.
I can deal with Georgia winning a little bit more. Georgia's just such a better job than Tennessee. Always has been, always will be. When Tennessee dominated Georgia, it's because Georgia made the worst hires in the history of man. I think it's easier to win at Georgia than Tennessee just naturally. I'll tell you who Tennessee should worry about the most as a program, though. And it's not Georgia, and it's not Alabama, and it's nobody on the schedule. It's an old rivalry of Tennessee's. Let's go by the name of Auburn. And with Hugh Freeze there, as much as I don't like him, and with Alabama maybe falling apart under Kalen DeBoer, Hugh Freeze's offense is going to really take shape, and he's going to be able to recruit a lot better. I think Josh Heupel and Hugh Freeze will be jockeying for the best offensive talent and having the best offensive system in the SEC over the next 5 years. Now, after 5 years, I can't go that far because I feel like Hugh Freeze is going to do something to get himself fired. But for the next 5 years, watch out. It's Auburn.
Okay. Well, going back to originally what game will define the Vols season, Florida gets 19% of the vote, Alabama 12% of the vote, Oklahoma 69% of the vote, NC State gets 0% of the vote. Again, that's 4 Downs, brought to you by our good friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas. You need to check them out. Just mention Off the Hook Sports, and you are going to get $500 off. Pretty awesome. And don't forget also that they deliver. So you can go look at it in the showroom, have it delivered to your home. Portions of the program brought to you by our good friends at BetUS, where you can get a 125% bonus on up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits.
America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
The link is right below for BetUS for that 125% bonus. And when we come back, we'll talk more Tennessee potentially winning the SEC championship against South Carolina tonight. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I didn't think Joe Milton threw incredibly well at the combine. Some analysts said so. Some analysts don't know what they're talking about. And I'm not ripping Joe, but listen, if I'm going to be unpopular on the message board, if you're going to dislike me, that's fine. I'll do that. But I watched every throw he made, and it wasn't grand. I think that there's an argument to be made that he would have done just as good previously. I remind you that the show is represented by Banks and Jones. Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. All right. I said early on that Joe Milton shouldn't throw at the combine because he's not comfortable and familiar with those surroundings. Yet he did. What did you think of the decision, Caleb, and what did you think of his performance?
Well, as somebody who watched him and you had all year, just from an objective eye, I thought his performance and actual necessary throws you need to make was mediocre. But I also think that because of his massive arm strength and because of what scouts fall in love with, he didn't do enough in terms of poor throwing to scouts were looking for a reason to like him, and he didn't do enough to detract from that reason to like him. And that's why I look back and I think it was smart for him to throw, because had he not thrown, it would have raised more questions. So he's the type of player that you look for a reason to like because you're so in love with the arm strength.
Okay, you made me second guess myself. I still wouldn't have him throw, but I at least understand your point. I wouldn't have had him throw there at the combine. Could it raise red flags? Yes, but my plan would be to answer all of those questions at a pro day when you're throwing at Jacob Warren and other guys or Mel Keaton that you're comfortable with. Then you need to throw zero incomplete passes. He threw a couple of incomplete passes in the drills yesterday, but also I thought there were some receivers that adjusted for him and rounded off routes and had a catch outside their normal catch window. I didn't think he had a very good day. I know people on the message board are going to rip me. I think that he did enough that he's going to get drafted. I don't doubt that. Just this comparison of Anthony Richardson slipping into the first round out of Florida, that's not going to happen, Caleb.
Yeah, and just quick heads up, it wasn't yesterday, it was over the weekend. I know that's what you meant, but I don't want anybody confused that he did anything different. But yeah, there's one, Anthony Richardson was a more fluid runner, and the thing was, this was Joe Milton's mistake at Tennessee. He should have run more, because the truth of the matter is his running would have actually probably helped his stock, and it would have helped Tennessee more had he done that.
I don't think he wants to run more.
But he can't be a pure pocket passer.
Yeah, I don't think he can be a pure pocket passer.
He
can be an NFL quarterback.
But like, if you have your leg,
I don't think he wants it enough.
Put it this way.
But wait, listen to what I just said there. I don't think he wants it enough. I don't think he ever wanted it enough.
That's a bold statement, Dave.
Okay, and I want you to react to it. Portions of the program brought to you by Don Self. Customer service still matters. For 40 years, they have built their business on taking care of their customers in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126, 423-396-2126, or go donself.net, donself.net. Tell you what I'm not going to do, if I have pride in my game, is I'm not going to let a coach come to me and tell me in early December that I'm not the guy in the bowl game, that it's going to be the highly touted freshman. I'm not just going to sit there and take that. I'm going to announce that I'm foregoing my final game so it doesn't look bad on me. I'm also not going to let my dad post on our YouTube message board about how Joe Milton doesn't have enough weapons around him. Listen, this whole thing wasn't undermined by his physical ability. It was undermined by his approach to the game and his lack of processing speed, which arguably could be attributable to what I first said, and that is, I don't know that he wants it enough. And that's fine. He's probably made enough money. He's probably made life-changing money just from Tennessee already. That's how things are different. But Caleb, I want your response, because I don't make statements about effort and work ethic very often. When I do, I hope you realize I'm not just throwing stuff out there. I just don't think he wants it bad enough.
So is this based on things you've heard close to campus?
Yes. Very different bird. The whole way the bowl game thing was not handled well from his perspective. By a lot of people on campus, they thought that, in administrative roles.
Well, I will tell you this about Joe Milton, and something that bolsters your argument. We both heard reports that when Nico Iamaleava arrived last year, Joe Milton got kicked into high gear and got really refocused to hold on to his starting job. That was kind of a red flag to me then, because I was like, why weren't you already focused after you lost your starting job to Hendon Hooker, right? So, I mean,
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. So that totally threw me off. And that, like, I'm just wondering, like, what could Joe Milton have? Why did it take this much for Joe Milton to get kicked into high gear? And look, maybe it's I want to be fair. Some people have a laid back personality, so we don't know if they want it enough or not.
Elias says, I just think Joe is a bit happy-go-lucky and laid back. Yes, that's what you're about to say. I think there's some truth to that. I don't think Peyton Manning is happy-go-lucky. I want the guy that's mad go unlucky. You know, I want the guy who's driven. I don't want the guy who's saying everything's just going to work out.
But sometimes that has, okay, look. Now, these aren't the best quarterbacks usually, but you and I both know one of the things that helped the 98 team with Tennessee was that Peyton Manning wasn't riding everybody so hard every play. I think T. Martin was kind of T. Martin was still a leader, right? He's still, like, they still rallied around him, but he did it in a different way. Like, he was very much like almost Fulmer-esque, I'll clap for you if you make a mistake, things like that. Is that fair to say? The Team Martin?
Yeah, but I don't think that team lacked for tough leadership at any level. Do you?
No, but I mean, it was the change from Peyton to T. Martin had to be a pretty big, significant one. And I think that I don't think that meant T. Martin didn't want it enough. Do you? Did you think T. Martin didn't want it that much?
No, and I think people got yelled at plenty at that team, but it was just probably by the defensive players more than the offensive players.
Okay, because I think of that, and maybe that is when you're a defensive-driven team, you want your quarterback laid back. And since if you're Heupel's offense, if you're Josh Heupel's team, you can't have your quarterback be laid back. He's got to be like to grab the team by their throat and go. And maybe that's a fair point to make. But I just sometimes think we mistake laid back for lack of care, and they're not always the same thing. It's possible he doesn't want it.
But don't you want your quarterback? I'm okay if my running back's kind of a go with the flow cat, but I don't want my quarterback to be a go with the flow cat. Do you?
I mean, but again, but T. Martin was.
To some extent. I think he was probably, he's a coach now, so isn't he a little fierier than you're giving him credit for?
Well, I think he's I think he's got that Dungy coaching mentality. You know what I mean? That Tony Dungy coaching mentality. And like, I feel like I never thought Joe Milton wasn't a leader of the offense. Did you not think he was kind of a leader of the offense last year? I thought he still did lead the offense in a lot of ways.
I thought he looked lost. I think you're being incredibly confident.
I think that's just him. I just think some people can't.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the jack.
I think that's just his makeup that he, like you just said, he doesn't process quickly. By the way, I want people to be clear. That does not make someone smart or not smart. Okay. Some people who can be very smart just need a little time to process. It's the guy that can figure out the same math problem, but he has to write it out as opposed to the one who does it in his head.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. And it's brought to you by Sports Treasures. Did Joe Milton help himself by coming back for another year at Tennessee? Now, Travis has given me a hard time. He was 8-4, almost beat Alabama, put some respect next to his name. Well, to me, that's baseline from now on, and it was baseline last year. So I'll give you respect for his name, but that's not good enough. That's nothing to brag about with where Tennessee's program should have been. They underachieved last year, period, end of discussion. Question I want to ask you, brought to you by Sports Treasures, Caleb, is just this. Did Joe Milton help himself by coming back and playing another year of college football? Would he have been the same prospect at the NFL Combine, the same prospect with the high upside, the same prospect who's been a little bit raw in 2023 as opposed to 2024? Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia daily updates. Again, follow on Facebook, Sports Treasures TN. That's Sports Treasures TN. Caleb, would Joe Milton have been any different of a prospect a year ago?
I know, because the same drawbacks. The problem with Joe Milton is Joe Milton didn't alleviate any of the drawbacks for him when he played. Those drawbacks were there last year, and they would have still been there. So I think he was a better prospect last year because we thought it was possible that those drawbacks were no longer there. They're still there. So in that regard, you are right. he's a better NFL prospect. But there'd be so many red flags if he had come out last year after just playing in the Orange Bowl.
True. And the other thing that speaks to your point, he probably wouldn't have gotten invited to the combine.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
My argument is that he could do everything at Pro Day and throw better at a Pro Day than in Indianapolis. I wouldn't have had him throw, but that's
but there is so much more pressure. You like you said, you can't help yourself at a Pro Day. You could only hurt yourself at a Pro Day as a quarterback.
I want to give Travis a final say on this. It was baseline, still best quarterback since Dobbs, and actually quite comparable to Dobbs.
He's trolling.
No, I don't think he is. No, I don't think that. I think that's very fair. I don't think that's
over trolling. Hooker, over Hendon Hooker.
Still best quarterback since Dobbs. I think he was referring to not Hendon Hooker. That was my assumption. Definitely Hendon Hooker's better than Dobbs.
I mean, definitely Hendon Hooker's better than Milton.
I guess I thought we were going back pre-Heupel.
Yeah, Travis, you said best QB since Dobbs. And I'm like, so you're saying that Joe was better than Hendon Hooker?
No, I'm sorry. I thought we were going not Hendon Hooker. Okay, Travis clarified.
Okay.
Right.
I thought you were hanging out with Sark at a bar.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. We appreciate the clarification. Remind you that not Hendon Hooker, that Brew McCoy helmet is on our Hooker's Corner page. But let's talk some Tennessee basketball. Who's the most important player for Tennessee to win the SEC tonight against South Carolina, Caleb Calhoun?
It's Jonas Adu, and this is why Dalton Knecht's not having. You can't say he's having the greatest season in Tennessee history because Dalton Knecht's not even the most important player on this team. It's Jonas Adu. Dalton Knecht can't carry this team when Jonas Adu doesn't score double figures. He's proven that, and so he couldn't carry Tennessee when Jonas Adu played poorly against South Carolina the last time when they lost, which they would have clinched the SEC had they won. Dalton Knecht couldn't carry him, and this has been my hot take the whole time. This is why you can't say this is why I can't say this is the greatest season ever. I get your point, but I feel like if Bernard King were on this team and Jonas Adu wasn't scoring, Bernard King could probably carry them to a win, right?
Yeah.
Dalton Knecht can't carry them to a win when Jonas Adu isn't scoring. That's been the thing the whole time. And so it's Jonas Adu.
What I saw the last 12 minutes of Auburn would speak to otherwise.
How many Jonas Adu hit double figures against Auburn? Jonas Adu hit double figures
but
against
they don't
Auburn.
win that game if Dalton Knecht doesn't take over.
No, they don't. They don't at all. But they also don't win that game if Jonas Adu doesn't do what he did. Dalton Knecht is unable to take over without Jonas Adu being the force that he is down low. That's my point. And so this is the big thing. Now, the line for tonight, by the way, on BetUS is Tennessee is favored by 5.5. And over-under set at 139.5. That's shocking, by the way. Tennessee was 4-point underdogs. Or Tennessee lost by 4 at home. And they're 5.5-point favorites at South Carolina tonight. That's just totally throws me off. But, I mean, they see what you guys see. Now, I do remember that it was a quick whistle the last game, which put Jonas Adu in foul trouble. And so a lot of this is dependent on the refs. Last night, but I said going into this week that the South Carolina game clinches in the SEC title. Dave, the stakes are way bigger now because it doesn't just clinch him the SEC title. It clinches him the outright SEC title. Since Alabama lost yesterday, they will guarantee themselves the best record in the SEC if they win tonight. And
Travis says, I'm going to put this on you. Travis says, who wins tonight? I'll put $100 on the money line on your word. I would encourage you to go to the link, BetUS down below, get that 125% bonus. So who are you taking? I'm not telling anybody to bet on my word, but you can.
I can't ignore 25 years of history with Rick Barnes. I can't ignore Rick Barnes choking against quality opponents with a milestone or an accomplishment on the line. So I actually have to take Tennessee because of that. I mean, I have to take South Carolina because of that. I actually have to take South Carolina. It's me betting against Barnes. Okay, I can't ignore history.
No, I understand. I'm going to give you my pick. I do want to remind you, TriStar hats are available for the latest in TriStar hats. Go to the original. That's TriStarHatsCo.com right down below, TriStarHatsCo.com. They're incredible. You can see the hat right up behind me. That's one of the truckers hat style. They've got the orange style as well, and we'll have some of those to give away as we move forward. Want to be sure that you are aware, before I make my pick on the Tennessee-South Carolina game, that if your company needs any sort of promotional apparel, any sort of giveaway, spirit wear, that sort of thing, a school or group, you go to Apex Apparel and you just call Tyler, 865-919-3001, 865-919-3001, or a really easy way to get to it is just go to yourapexapparel.com, fill it out there, and he'll get in touch with you, yourapexapparel.com. I got Tennessee winning. I can't ignore what Vegas is saying. So Vegas has, last we checked, what, South Carolina as about a 6-point dog?
5.5 now. Yeah, they have Tennessee as a 5.5 point favorite. Okay. Now, you've said based on betting, like, shouldn't you skew points like 2 points one way or the other with Tennessee because of the way Tennessee people bet?
Yes. So you'd be talking about so basically you're talking about a pick 'em.
3.5 to 4.
Almost a pick 'em because it's on their court, right?
No. Because it's at South Carolina, it would actually be 6 to 7 if it were on Tennessee's court.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. I got it backwards. I think Tennessee wins this game easily. I trust Vegas on the money line. If you do that, Travis, on me, please know that I will hook you up with a hooker shirt if you lose. And I will be thinking about you tonight because I don't want anybody to lose money because of me. Hey, we had a record number of people on board. Loved having Jimmy Hyams on. We'll have Ron Slay later in the week. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you haven't turned your notifications on, I beg you to do that because we've got all kinds of new stuff coming up, including something called the Volunteer Vault, which we're very excited about. Caleb's Corner, we're very excited about. It's going to be a big year. So get those notifications on and hit that like and subscribe button. So we would certainly appreciate that. Yes.
Also, this is the other scary thing for you guys. I'm sorry. We're not that far removed from Tennessee having a chance to accomplish something big and then a game at South Carolina derailing it all.
That didn't happen.
All right, I'm not trying to scare you, but
he's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Who's Spencer Rattler? This has been a